But I pray to God to continue to keep me and the Jamaica Labour Party firm and strong. I pray to God give me the energy we need to keep Jamaica and our people firm and strong. Stand up, Labour rights. Stand up for justice. Stand up for truth. Labour rights are proud of their party.
In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory. Jamaica, nobody fuss, no, nobody fight. We did a for the labor right. No shaky boat because a woman we like. We did a for the labor right. The river come down green, it's so pretty and bright. We did a for the labor right. You and me love shower in a green, me baptized. We did a for the labor right. Right now me nah worry about visa. We governor the greatest leader. Me nah run way, go a foreign like triple X and but beef gravel leg out a freezer. Bout ya fit on green like Tracina. And we say no, we is freeze for the teachers. We have the prettiest women like Anne-Marie Vaz and sexy Venetia. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory. Oh no, see center, my servant center. You know, St. James parameter. Our doctors did have to use garbage bag. Yo, does you go on like you no member? Now blessings that flow like river. Every bad prayer return to sender. Dr. Cole and Blair teach drop out from when PMP never buy them no denture. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall have a victory.
Good morning, Leader Roots, and good morning to all other comebacks watching this channel. Welcome to another episode of Political Hard Talk. I am your host, none other than the greatest Labour right alive. Good morning, my people. Good morning. Now, somebody had messaged me and said to take a look at this Rasta thing. So I woke up this morning and I did a deep dive. Information hard to find in a Jamaica sometime, but you know, I dig up what I could have, and I have something from Elite Jamaica by way of audio, which we will play later on, but I want to get in some documentations that I found this morning. Now, Coral Gardens was true. Coral Gardens happened 1 year after Jamaica gained independence. You know, so 1 year after we had self-governance, Coral Gardens happened. But there was a lot leading up to that time, my people. So we are going to get into that and see why Coral Gardens transpire. So not excusing it. It did happen, but something led up to it. See? So we're going to get into that this morning. But before we go there, let's roll out the morning shout out. So now tell me if you not see me and tell me if you not hear me. Tell me if there's any break in the audio so I can shift up liquor. See? So good morning to my beautiful wife. Good morning, baby. Good morning, Mama Winsome. Larry, big up yourself. UN, big up. Bertie, big up yourself. Mark, big up yourself. Jam down, big up yourself. Jacqueline, Elaine, big up yourself. Victor, big up yourself. PB, big up yourself. A. Hutchins, big up yourself. Arlene, big up yourself. Preston, big up yourself. Blenden White, big up yourself. Monica Tennant, big up. Marcia, big up. Dan Warren, big up. Politics, big up. Caroline, big up. Odette, big up yourself. Kick Rocks, big up yourself. Mama Lady J, good morning. Howard Hall, big up yourself. And Shirley, big up yourself. Elaine McClarity, good morning. Remember to hit the like button, guys. You know, there's 68 of us thus far, and we ask for 80 thumbs up per live now. See, so I am going to go to an archive that I found, and I will read what is on it. So this says the early years of Rastafari oppression in Jamaica. See? So I want to ask you guys now, who was the government in Jamaica in the 1930s? Anybody can tell me? So while you not tell me that, I will start the reading. Right? From its founding in the early 1930s, the Jamaican state have targeted Rastafari. See? And for the next 30 years, this oppression of its members by the Jamaican state would continue and eventually culminated into April 1963 in the events now immortalized as Coral Gardens massacre. See? Now, in the 1930s, the JLP was not around. The JLP was only formed in the 1940s. See? So, the PNP was around in the 1930s. Norman Manley was first premier of Jamaica under the British colonizers. See? So, we're not blaming Norman Manley for what happened in the 60s because Coral Gardens happened under a JLP government. But I am just showing you, I'm just giving you a timeline as to, you know, they like to say labor right is the one who persecute Rasta. Rasta was being persecuted for 30 years before Coral Gardens happened, my people. See? I wish Tafari did there so he couldn't hear this morning. Originally in the 1930s, Rastafari is credited with 4 persons. 1 Robert Hines, 1 Joseph Hibbert, 1 Archibald Dunkley, and Leonard Howell. Now I want to know, remember the name, Leonard Howell. See? In the early 1930s, the men alongside Altamount Reed and others, lecture to all who were willing to hear about the Black Messiah and the plight of Black Jamaicans. Rastafari, influenced by the life of philosophy of Baptist priest Alexander Bedward and Pan-Africanist Marcus Garvey, as well as being influenced by Hinduism and Christianity. So, you know, Rastafari made these things, my people. These are all the things that influence Rastafari. Where was I? By the mid-1930s, Leonard Howell became one of its dominant figures in the Rastafari movement. See? So listen to this now. Howell, who would later become known as the Gang and Gigi Maraj, was born in Jamaica in 1898. He would travel abroad in the early 1900s and quickly became a close confidant of Marcus Garvey. However, soon after, Howell was deported to Jamaica and thus the beginning in the 1930s, he arose as one of the leaders in Rastafari. See? So he was a part of the Pan-African movement in the United States along with Marcus Garvey. He was deported back to Jamaica, and that is how, you know, the Rastafari movement kickstart with that philosophy, my people. It was here that our story began of the state oppression against Rastafari. So I am quoting from a document here that, you know, is giving the side of Rastafari. See? As early as 1933, remember now, The Jamaica Labour Party did not form until 1948, I believe. You can fact check me upon that. See? As early as 1933, there exists news report of the state versus Rastafari. So they must say there is documents that you can find from early as 1933. See? That will show you the state versus Rastafari. A headline in the Daily Gleaner published on March 16, 1934 says, Rastafari discipline found guilty of sedition. We don't know what sedition means. See? The story involves Howell, Robert Hines, and other members of the Rastafari had been in charge for preaching allegiance to Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia. Howell eventually served a 2-year sentence in an asylum after. So they lock him up because he started preach say Selassie a God. See? So and remember, you know, although the PNP was about to form and we did not really have self-governance then. So this is not PNP or JLP doing. This is the British monarchy that is still in charge in the 1930s. See? So it is not Labour that lock up Howell and it is not PNP that lock up Howell. See? However, those gentlemen was around. Marcus, Bustamante, Marcus Garvey, Norman Manley, they were around. See? So we'll get into the facts, my people. See? Where was I? Howell eventually served a 2-year sentence in an asylum after. Alongside the Gleaner, the case was also reported in another popular news outlet, the Jamaica Times. In this book, Rastafari, the evolution of a people and their identity, the academic Charles Price stated. See? I quote, the newspaper gave them attention that they perhaps could have never had attained on their own. The trial was intended to defang the Rastafari and giving any new groups survival chances. The Rastafari had low odds of enduring, yet eventually they flourish through continual battle because of their doctrine. See? So this is a quote from a newspaper at the time. End quote. And you would know, just as Dr. Price stated, Rastafari thrive and its member gradually increase. Still, the opposition continue. Between 1934 to 35, other leaders were targeted and prosecuted. So this is the British state that is doing this again, my people. Remember, PNP was formed, I believe, 1938. And the JLP would have come 10 years later. See? So this is 3 years before the PNP. However, you know, these person, Bustamante and Norman Manley was around. I believe Bustamante was in Panama at this time, working in the Panama Canal. He was not in Jamaica during this time. He only came after. So we can fact check me upon these things as well. And we are going to teach with history. We know with history. See, Bustamante was not on the island at this point in time when this are going with Rastafari. See? Where was I? So the opposition continued between 1934 to 35. Other leaders were targeted and prosecuted. This includes Archibald Dunkley and Joseph Hilbert. In 1936, acting colonial secretary A.R. Singram. See? I don't see nothing go on the screen, so don't tell me if you don't hear me. Tell me if you don't see me. Let me see something. Alright. Yeah. I see now. Big up yourself, Juliet Clark. Jadi, big up yourself. Sedition is inciting violence against the government. Exactly. For all who don't know. Alright. When I say yes, I'm good. Alright. So I hope you follow me, because this is very interesting. In 1936, acting colonial secretary A.R. Singram complained to the island's governor, Sir Edward Denham, that people living in the parish of St. Thomas were being pressured by the movement, with numerous reports of harassment, noise complaints, children being removed from school, echoes of racial hatred, and persons abandoning their properties to return to Africa. See? So, I guess in the 1930s, persons was leaving Jamaica to go back to Africa. Or that is what the colonial government is saying at the time. We don't know. We can't trust them. I certainly wouldn't trust them, but that is what they were saying at the time. Remember now, there is no PNP or JLP yet. So there is a system. Just like today, there's a system of corruption in Jamaica, and we are fight hard to get rid of it. See? According to the colonial secretary, Rastafari had very much brought the parish of St. Thomas to a standstill. Despite a rebuttal published in the Gleaner by officers of the Ethiopian King of Kings in Jonestown, where the men explain the ideology of Rastafari, the outcry against Rastafari continued throughout the 1936. See? So the whole of 1936, they might fight against Rasta. Remember now, JLP and PNP in a format. In the new year, on January 23rd, 1937, Vivian Burnham, a member of the Kingston and St. Andrews Civic League, the KSACL, penned a letter to the governor urging him to take action against the blasphemous and indeed sacrilegious. So let me read that again. In the new year, on January 23rd, 1937, Vivian Burnham, a member of the Kingston and St. Andrew Civil League, the KSACL, penned a letter to the governor urging him to take action against the blasphemous and sacrilegious movement of Rastafari. Burnham, by the end of this letter, compared Rastafari influence to that of the 1865 Morant Bay Rebellion. See? And the Rastas are producing mental illness among its followers. So these are white people now saying that this is the Rasta, and this is how the Rasta movement is, being portrayed by white people, I should say, at that time, because they were the leaders of the country still, right? Okay, a few weeks after, on March 11, 1937, Colonial Secretary J.D. Lucy Simmet told the KSACL that the government is considering the enactment of action to prohibit the practice of these curious cults. So they started called Rasta cult at that time. See? But as history would have it, no official action was taken against Rastafari, but that did not stop the letter from coming. And so by 1939, one of the loudest proponents against the movement was the now founder and president of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Alexander Bustamante, who wrote, and we not sugarcoat nothing, so listen now. See? So Alexander Bustamante, who wrote his now famed letter calling upon the state to curb Rasta by arresting Howell. So he was saying to lock up Howell, and that will put an end to the Rastafari movement. Now remember, JLP is still not farm yet, but these men was around. Bustamante had returned from Panama, I think, in 1938. So he's around. That's when the PNP came into being as well. See? So these persons, they were of a different time, really. And they believed in Christianity. They did not believe in promoting another God. They believe what, remember now, Bustamante was white, Norman Manley was white. So they grew up believing a certain thing, right? So we continue to follow. In his July 6, 1939 letter addressing the colonial secretary, Bustamante stated, "Sir, serious trouble is brewing, at Port Morant in St. Thomas, owing to the mischievousness of a man whose name is Howell, leader of this terrible thing that is called Rastafari. This man, I understand, went to the asylum once. He subsequently went to prison for 2 years for a mediation, which bordered on the line of high treason." So by this time, Rasta Rasta start say, yo, them gonna take over his state now, See, leaded by Howell, right? So listen. Leaded by Howell and others. So it wasn't just Howell, it was others as well. St. Thomas, he is endeavoring to put one group against another group, and I would not be surprised if something serious happened. And that a riot does not take place there because he is tormenting serious trouble. I strongly ask that you have this matter communicated to the Inspector of Police for St. Thomas, because it would be very good for government to receive a report from him, as he is very anxious and concerned about the existing affairs. It seems to me that the only right and proper place for this man is in the asylum. He is a danger to the peace of the community. I think he's the greatest danger that exists in the country today, and I believe the police can confirm this. See? So that is a letter from Bustamante at the time. By the 1940s, now, if you decide to, rise up against the state is going to rise up against you. No, not saying that Bustamante was right, but it was a different time that they had different belief. See? Now listen to this. By the 1940s, the opposition moved from worldly attacks on individuals arrested to continuous raid on Rasta communities. Many of these police raids were being conducted at Pinnacle, Howell's camp, located in the parish of St. Catherine. Protege in his song Kingston Be Wise of his 2013 album, The 8-Year Affair, immortalized this when he sang, "Like a no son of Solomon, them have done there. Leonard Howell, Pinnacle and them land there. Subdivision, them deal it underhand, They deal with it underhand, Protege says." No, me no familiar with the song. Me no too follow Protege, but big up yourself for the dark night. In 2015, Protege would once more speak on the oppression of Howell and Rastafari in his song Criminal of his album Ancient Future. Them lock up Leonard Howell for sell Selassie face. That couldn't stop the message. This a Selassie place. See? And so by November 1940s, officers from the Ministry of visited Pinnacle. Them people really believe now, say, Rasta they mad. See, because that's what they used to say, that Rasta people are mad people. And till this day, some Rasta still carry themselves. No, do not feel disrespected, but it is the truth. Until this day, some Rasta people still carry themselves as if they are crazy. See? And so by November 1940, officers from the Ministry of Health visited Pinnacle. Health concerns they cited. 19 residents of Pinnacle were sent to the Spanish Town Hospital for treatment and were eventually admitted to the poorhouse. 3 days later, 2 medical personnel arrived at the Pinnacle to access housing and sanitary condition housing and sanitary condition. In their report, they reported that over 200 persons lived on the compound where the four-seated latrine were fly-free, the water supplies was clean, and alongside good drainage. The light, the ventilation, and the general sanitary conditions, and the general sanitary of the community was satisfactory, in their own words. The discipline is excellent. Still, they did state that undernutrition was evident, and so it happened that 8 of the 19 of those who showed sign of undernutrition were admitted to the poorhouses. See? But in a change of events, weeks after the medical personnel stated that living conditions at Pinnacle were in excellent order. In January 19 of 1941, the Director of Medical Service and the Inspector of Police visited Pinnacle and said that the living conditions of residents were unsatisfactory. So here is a state that is really trying to, press a people at the time. So like I said, we're not sugarcoating it. We are looking at the facts. It don't happen already. It happened gone. These people, most of them is still not around. And, Rasta today in Jamaica still say them oppressed. I don't believe so. I believe that they are free. And they can do anything and go anywhere that they want. They can reach any heights in Jamaica today. That is my belief. If you don't believe different, you can't say that. See? Alright, so we'll read the paragraph again. But in a change of events, weeks after the medical personnel stated that living conditions at Pinnacle were in excellent order, in January of 1941, the Director of Medical Services and the Inspector of Police visited Pinnacle and said that the living conditions of residents were unsatisfactory. They then asked the parochial board of St. Catherine to intervene by charging Howell with criminal negligence. So there was an orchestrated move to tear down Howell, my people, because I will see this throughout history. The systems were there. I don't believe that Bustamante could have helped it. I don't believe that Norman Manley could have helped it. This is a system that was coming from before their time. See? So they had to just fall in line, my people. That is how it went in that time. See? But that didn't go anywhere because according to the board, in the case of Pinnacle malnutrition, in a case of ignorance rather than neglect, But the lack of charge against Howell didn't stop the opposition. The new governor, Arthur Richard, already had Rasta on his radar when, back in April of 1940, he wrote to the Secretary of State of the colonies that the Howell meetings, which drew over 500 plus persons, had a racial feeling. So these people were acting out of fear. This is what I'm getting from these people. They act out of fear. They feel like Rasta did rise up and kill them. See? Howell meeting, which drew over 500 plus persons, had a racial feeling. And with this backing by the government, on the 14th of July, 1941, police officers descended upon Pinnacle to round up Howell and his followers. At this raid, 70 persons were arrested and 101 ganja bush removed. The police commissioner went on to say about the raid. Now, by this time, Bustamante is not in government yet, but he's a prominent figure in the space, you know. And I quote, has undoubtedly had a good effect and was very popular with the surrounding inhabitants. And it would appear that a certain amount of terrorism, which has been exercised by members of the camp, had been to a considerable extent broken. So they move in upon the Rasta them and you know them tear down their camp and cut down their bush and say, you know, them significantly reduce. But them don't know say I provoke them. See? But the raid did not break the spirit of Rastafari. So remember that we are reading from the opinion of a Rasta now. See? So listen to this. But the raid did not break the spirit of Rastafari. The members only migrated to other areas of the island, most notably the poorest, underdeveloped areas of Kingston. Trenchtown, Akiwak, Dongle. I first me hear about Dongle. Denham Town, Bakowal, others went to Mobile, and others went to Westmoreland. And with World War II on the rise, of the political parties in Jamaica, taking center stage later in Jamaica, in 1940, the media and society did not pay that much mind to Rastas. So through the war come, and then the formation of the PNP and the JLP, you know, much mind wasn't being paid to Rasta after that. Here comes the 50s. But then came June of 1951. On June 11, 1951, on the front page of the Daily Gleaner was the breaking news. Rastaman charged with Palisado's murder. See? The article reported that a bearded man murdered Sidney Garrell and attacked his girlfriend, Bernadette Hugh. See? While the couple was on the beach of the Palisado Road in Kingston. When a lineup was done, Alston Jolly, otherwise known as Wappy King. See? So I must say yes, a Wappy King Philo came from my people. I must say it come from. So when people say from Wappy King Philo, I say it come from. Right. Anyway, this is interesting, my people. I may never read the whole article, but I read half of my people. So if you don't hear me a buck and shuffle a through, I don't read the whole article. But we are going to see me. See? The article reported that a bearded man murdered Sidney Garrell and attacked his girlfriend, Bernadette Hugh, while the couple was on the beach of Palisadoes Road in Kingston. When a lineup was done, Alston Jolly, otherwise known as Wappy King, was pointed out as the murderer. The thing though, Wappy King lived in Dongle, where residents around the area describe him as a member of Rastafari who trimmed his dreadlocks to hide from the police after committing the murder. Still, the arrest of Wappy had repercussions. Firstly, many of the Rastas work as dock workers at Kingston waterfront, and after Wappy's arrest, many of the men who work on the dock on strike because according to them, they refuse to work with bearded men. Rasta from squatted area. Hold on, let me read this out. They refuse to work with bearded men. Rastas from squatted areas any longer. Secondly, after the murder, Rasta emerged as public enemy number one throughout the media. there were calls for the crackdown on Rastas all over Kingston area. And when the government at this time, now headed by the Jamaica Labour Party, move into, so the Labour Party farm now, and they are running the government in the 50s, so early 50s, this, remember, PNP, I believe, won 1955, so, you can fact check me on that, I believe they won 1955, right, so JLP is in government at this time now. Where was I? Yeah, move into, so the JLP move into house the squatters in insecure police patrol with increased police patrol, and the opposition, the People's National Party, PNP, step in to caution the government and responding to the Palisades murder as it would negatively impact the country. Now booming tourist industry. PNP leader Michael Manley urged the government to practice some restraint in dealing with the murders. And Rasta in response, JLP, Labour, PNP, and their leader Michael Manley as supporter of the Rasta. So Michael Manley come in and say after the murder, the government said they will crack down on Rasta. And Norman Manley, came in and cautioned them and said, listen, do not think because it will go impact on tourism because people will get afraid. And, so right then and there, because of that, the Rasta took side with PNP, right? JLP, which has always been a government of law and order. See? So, I see somebody else if you learn to read. I can read Lennox, me just never go through the document. So, me I go through it with you. So just listen and learn something, Lennox. See? So then and there the PNP took side, the Rasta took side with PNP, said PNP was for them, because Norman Manley step in and said, caution, right? And so you have it, the beginning of tribal politics in Jamaica, my people, involving Rasta and the island's two major political parties, which honestly, that needs a whole other episode at another time. To this though, Dr. Price stated, see, this is one example of why many Rasta would reject Jamaican political parties. The association ruin their collective identity, right? But we know say Rasta are really PNP from them time until now. See? Still, despite the PNP opposition, the government took swift action against Rasta in the state of the Palisades attack. Security Minister L.C. Bloomfield announced that an estimated 1,500 Rasta squatters would be evicted, mostly those in the Warwick Hill, Though residents of the areas targeted pleaded that they were there for years but had built homes and raised families, their cries did not help. Families still got evicted. Then a campaign involving the dangerous drug law was launched against those who possess ganja. Ganja. And, of course, that campaign was against Rasta. In the weeks follows, after numerous arrests were reported. In the same decade of the early 1950s, Rasta not only became more organized, but a more identifying image were now cultivated. And this we mean locks. So, Rasta start growth then locks now and I say, that's their identity. Even though historian and social scientists have another theory attributed to the wearing of locks by Rasta, seen as none of the founders were locks. One group became the first group of Rasta with the hairstyle, Young Black Faith. So I don't know where Young Black Faith be, but I guess this is another arm of the Rasta movement at that time. See? According to Jamaican sociologist, sorry, the Young Black Faith originated in West Kingston in the early 1940s as Frankton Van Dyke in his paper Sociological Means Colonial Reaction to Radicalization of Rastafari in Jamaica, and this is between 1956 to 1959. See? And I quote, they were dissatisfied with the hierarchical structure of older Rastafarian organization, denouncing the established leadership for its reverence to revival tradition and observance of colonial rules. So the young black Rasta them, the young, let me see what you call again, the Young Black Faith Rasta group start renounce the elder them now, and I say, yo, them I stick to colonial traditions. So them start get radical, my people. See? So me go skip out the this and then lead up to what took place in the 1960s. Right? Cause long, my people, me there about a couple hundred pages. Me can't read through all like my people. God no. I remember saying me can't read, me can't hardly read already. So I will go one different part. Alright, so who prosecuted Rasta, my people? How you would perceive it is that it is the government, JLP at the time. However, the persecution of Rasta started way before JLP came into power. There was just a system and there was a belief that you cannot, go against God. Even today in Jamaica, if you say something that people deem to be blasphemous, they will say that you're blaspheming and God these things. We still have that in Jamaica. See? So, all right, we'll read from another point of view now. Who prosecuted Rasta? And it says colonial authorities. In the year leading up to Jamaica's independence, the British colonial government viewed the growing Rastafarian movement as a threat to its power. See? They engage in arrests, evictions, and charge Rastafarian with crimes like cannabis possession, which was a religious sacrament. Now listen to this. While the PNP was formed and while the JLP was formed, we were still not in charge of the government, especially security. The British used to oversee that same way. See, now people don't really know that because them not go search and find them things there. So while Bustamante and Norman Manley started to lay a platform for self-governance, we were still being run by the British and all of the systems were still in place, my people. So it wasn't that the government, whether PNP or JLP, was fighting against Rasta, but it was really the system itself was fighting against Rasta. See, Norman Manley or Bustamante could not have done anything to stop that. Plus, they grew up in that time and had that belief that Rasta was doing something wrong. See, so Rasta was being fought as black men anyway, and then they had to add of being Rastafarian, which they had the right to do, my people. See? Now listen to this. Jamaican government post-independence. After Jamaica independence, the government continued to target Rastafarians. The most notable example is the Coral Gardens incident in 1963. So this is 1 year after we gained political independence now. So we are now in charge of our own governance. But guess what? Only 1 year after we gain independence, the systems are still there, my people. See? So listen to this. And by the way, for all who don't know, Bustamante, Norman Manley, Michael Manley, they're family. See? Them a blood family. They are related. See? Where was I? The first unrelated prime minister that we have in Jamaica that was not family is Edward Seaga, by the way. So if in case you don't know your history, you don't know we had in Jamaica that is not related to anybody is Edward Seaga. See? Where was I? Yeah, following the violent confrontation where the government ordered police and military to bring in Rasta, dead or alive, leading to mass arrests, torture, and killings. See? Planters and established churches, local ruling elites, including planters and established churches, were also unsettled by the Rastafarian movement. Message of black power and anti-colonialism contribution to their opposition and prosecution. So the church was also instrumental in going after Rasta, which anything that is bad you normally find the church there. You know, just the other day we find out say the Church of England was widespread. They were widespread in molesting young boys in the Church of England. Also, the Church of England was one of the biggest owners of plantations and slaves, the Church of England. See? So we find that out the other day. While there is no evidence of a coordinated Rasta uprising against the Jamaican government, some Rasta individuals and groups did engage in activities that the government perceived as sedition, leading to severe repression such as the 1963 Garden incident and mass arrests. Early Rasta leader promoted loyalty to Haile Selassie over the British crown, which was seen as treasonous. And later, leaders like Claudius Henry were accused of plotting revolts. The government's response involved military crackdown, violence, and discriminatory practices, viewing the movement as a security threat and a challenge to the social order. See? So, big up to Rasta, them big up to Bob. You know, Bob brought them a far way, a long way, but they have been struggling a lot since Bob. You know, but like I said, this is from a time and a different, and as say what happened to them was wrong, but it was from a different time. If this was to happen to them now, you know, it would be very terrible. Rejection of the colonial states in 1930s and 1940s, Rasta ideology with its emphasis on Haile Selassie as the Black Messiah and the rejection of the British monarchy was considered seditious and a political challenge. See? And then the government started arresting people like Leonard Howell and others. Leonard Howell were arrested for promoting these ideas and were seen as inciting hatred and advocating for loyalty to Selassie and not to the British crown. See? So, remember now, we just gained independence. We are not yet fully in control of whatever. You know, up till this day, we're still not in full control of all of our affairs. It's still, you know, up till this day. So, it was a system fighting against the Rastafari. It was not any government per se, my people. See? The Claudius Henry incident and the Coral Gardens affair, plotting a revolution in 1960. Rasta leader Claudius Henry was accused of orchestrating a revolution and communicating with the communist Cuba. See? His son, Renald Henry, was executed after a state of emergency was declared. So, this is a 1960. We still not gain independence. We would gain independence 2 years down the line. So they accused Claudius Henry of plotting a revolution against the government at the time. And so the PNP would have won the election in 1955. So who was in government in 1960? I believe Jamaica Labour Party never returned to power until 1962. See? So you see that it is not only the JLP, no, it is both government, but it is not really the government, it is the system that was there, my people. See? So in 1960, the PNP is still in government, right? JLP would win the election in 1962, right? So, and these things are still happening to Rasta. However, the Rasta them did choose the inside through Norman Manley did, say, don't oppress them, left them alone. So they chose Norman Manley, at the time. The Coral Garden incident, the government fear of a communist revolution led to arbitrary arrests of Rastafarians and violent crackdown in 1963, known as the Coral Gardens massacre. Now we are going to take on to a clip from when I borrow from a bridging that I subscribe to. See, Elite Jamaica. If you don't know who Elite Jamaica is, so credit to Elite Jamaica. So we're going to take on to a documentary now, and he will explain in greater details as to how it went on. See? I hope you follow me and say, and I understand, even though me a buck shuffle, but me try to read it and understand. Go let's get into it, my people.
Everybody is in a panic because we have been victimized. We have not known what is going to happen to us.
The Coral Gardens incident, also known as the Coral Gardens atrocities, the Coral Gardens massacre, the Coral Gardens.
Also, I was wondering why, these persons, Rastafarian, now granted that they are Jamaicans and they had a right to be in Jamaica. But I was wondering when they were being oppressed, why they never migrated to Africa, to Ethiopia. Some of them was leaving for Africa. Why didn't they migrate to, Ethiopia? Also, I see somebody has said there was no apology. There was an apology by Edward Seaga, and Edward Seaga brought Haile Selassie to Jamaica in the back in the day. I believe it was in the 80s. It could have been earlier, it could have been 60s, but Edward Seaga did offer apology, and he brought Haile Selassie to Jamaica so Rastafari could meet him. See?
Riot and the Bad Friday refers to a series of events that occurred in Jamaica from April 11 to 13, 1963. Following a violent altercation at a gas station in Montego Bay, Jamaican police and military forces detained Rastafarians throughout Jamaica, killing and torturing many. Exact numbers are not available, but estimates place the number of detained individuals as high as 150. Welcome back to Elite Jamaica, the place you come to learn about Jamaica and Jamaicans. If it's your first time joining me here, consider subscribing to the channel by clicking that red subscribe button. And do remember to turn on notifications by clicking that bell icon so you never...
So if you not follow Elite Jamaica, go and follow him. He's very good at what he does as well, my people. So, you can go and give him a subscription.
Miss any of my updates.
I'm on the mission. Today is the
of cannabis, which is used as the Rastafarian religious sacrament. Several of these incidences resulted in police killings of Rastafarians, and some of those arrested were reportedly never seen again. Due to alleged violence on the part of Rastafarians and public discourse which emphasized anti-social aspects of the Rastafarian faith, public opinion in Jamaica largely sided with the police against the Rastafarians.
So at the time, like Elite says, public opinion at the time sided with the government, So the government felt like they had a right to do it. Also, Rastas was doing all kind of atrocious things as well, my people. They were actually trying to rise up against the state for true. The evidence is there, you know.
In 1959, a confrontation between a Rastafari security guard and a policeman at Coronation Market resulted in the police beating the security guard, which prompted a violent response from nearby shop owners. The police brought reinforcements, arresting 57 Rastafarians and brutally beating and forcibly shaving the dreadlocks off of some of them. A police car and fire truck were also set on fire during this incident. Later that year, Rastafari leader Reverend Claudius Henry was accused of plotting a revolution and communicating with Fidel Castro. In 1960, Henry's son Reynold was arrested on the grounds of plotting a revolution, and under the declaration of state of emergency, Reynold Henry and his co-conspirators were executed. Following these events, the government began to arbitrarily members of the Rastafari community under the justification that Rastafarians were involved in.
So there's nothing that we can do, my people. You know, it done gone already. All of these people, all of these things happen. You know, what we can do now is to create a better future for everybody. An all-inclusive future for everybody. You know, this was not a good thing. Many things that happened after that was not a good thing. You know, labor rights was also attack and burnout. Evelyn Tide Home, all of these things. Green Bay Massacre. Those are not a good thing, but there's nothing that see
Orchestrating a communist revolution. In 1962, Jamaica would win its independence, but anti-Rastafarian sentiment continued to be prevalent in the Jamaican government and the police forces, which increasingly viewed the Rastafarians as a security threat. In police training schools, officers would often train using images of Rastafarians as target practice. This sentiment was echoed in general society as well, with Rastafarians often being beaten by civilians, forcing Rastafarians to avoid public spaces. Coral Gardens was part of a larger property, the Rosal Estate, which includes the Rosal Mansion. This property was the site of both small-scale farming by Rastafarians, as well as the ambitions of landlords and the government officials who hoped to convert the area into a tourist destination. The government and landlords saw the Rastafarians as an obstacle to their goal of repurposing the property for tourism, and frequently sent police to evict the Rastafarians. In one such incident, in 1961, police
so me a break up, my people. Now tell me if you not hear me. Tell me if you not hear audio properly. Tell me if you not hear me. See? Now tell me what I go on, my people. Now hear me? Nah, see no. Alright. I'm good now. Alright. You don't want me start it over or you don't want to play for away there. Alright. You don't hear me. We just continue.
Dr. Rudolph Franklin, shooting him 6 times in the stomach and leaving him for dead. Franklin received plastic surgery in a hospital to repair his stomach, but was reportedly told by a doctor that once the plastic rotted, his wounds would reopen and he would die. Following his surgery, Franklin was immediately arrested on the grounds of cannabis possession and sentenced to 6 months in prison. After his release from prison, Franklin reportedly swore to take revenge against the overseer who had attempted to evict him, Edward Fowler. Accounts differ as to the specifics of what happened on April 11th. According to police reports, a group of Rastafarians armed with spears, hatchets, and machetes set fire to a gas station as part of an attempted robbery. A skirmish resulted between the Rastafarians and the police who arrived at the gas station, resulting in the deaths of 3 Rastafarians, 2 policemen.
So this is what lead up to the Coral Gardens, my people. So it wasn't that, in this case, it wasn't that, although Rasta was an oppressed people, it wasn't that the government went in there to oppress them. They attacked the police, my people. And that is what triggered the Coral Gardens thing.
3 civilians, also on the scene. A separate account published in the Public Opinion and supported by relatives of Rudolph Franklin as well as a Syracuse professor, Horace Campbell, asserts that the violence between Franklin and other Rastafarians in and the police and property owners on the other. Following the skirmish at the gas station, a policeman tracked down and killed the other Rastafarians that had been present at the skirmish. Jamaican newspapers, such as the Daily Gleaner, published many articles demonizing the Rastafarians and demanding armed intervention by the state. Media also originally described the events at Coral Gardens as an uprising, and were later forced to retract their characterization of the event by the Labour Party-led government. On April 12, Good Friday, Prime Minister Alexander Bustamante gave an order to bring in all Rastas, dead or alive. Police and military forces entered working-class neighborhoods and Rastafari encampments to detain Rastafarians and forcibly cut the dreadlocks off those who were detained. Many Rastafarians were tortured and killed, and the exact tally is unknown. One estimate suggests that as many as 150 individuals were detained over the following day. Following the events of April 11 to 30, two narratives of the incident emerged. One view held that the events of the Good Friday weekend constituted an unlawful uprising by the Rastafarians. This view was supported by contemporary media reports of the events and the statements of government officials at the time. Meanwhile, the Rastafarian community in Jamaica held that the actions of Rudolph Franklin and his compatriots were a justified reaction to decades of persecution by the government and perceived the mass arrests that followed as an abuse of state powers, a view that has been reflected by more recent academic scholarship. The event has been commemorated yearly in Jamaica. In 2011, a documentary film about the incident was released, titled Bad Friday, Rastafari After Coral Gardens. In 2015, Public Defender Arlene Harrison Henry submitted a report to the Parliament of Jamaica detailing an investigation of the Coral Gardens incident and recommending that the government provide financial reparations for the injuries, abuses, and deaths caused by its actions against the Rastafarian community. In April 2017, the government of Jamaica issued a formal apology for the incident, taking responsibility without equivocation and stating that the incident should never have happened. The government has established a trust fund of 10 million Jamaican dollars, that's 78,000 US dollars, for survivors as reparations for the incident. The government also promised to recognize Pinnacle, St. Catherine Parish, a site with historical relevance to the Rastafarian community, a protected site under the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. Thank you for joining me again, guys.
Okay, so like I said, the Andrew Holness-led government, which is moving Jamaica rapidly to the future, have apologized to the Rastafari movement. Started a trust fund, place $10 million in there. They, I believe, had already recognized Pinnacle as a national heritage site. And today, in Jamaica today, you know, it was under Bustamante that the Coral Gardens happened, my people. Right, if that you ask. Yes, it was under Bustamante that it happened in 1963. Remember that Bustamante formed the first official government of Jamaica in 1962. I can't remember which month. See? But it was not a JLP or PNP problem. Exactly, UN. It was not. It was a system that was in place for many years before JLP and PNP come through. But, you know, the leaders at the time, you know, I don't believe that there were much they could have done about it, really. You know, however, it should not have happened if Bustamante was to take side against the colonial powers. I am sure we would not have known a Bustamante today, you know, probably, because that's how it was back in that time. But this was a problem coming from our colonial masters. They decided to persecute Rasta, and believe it or not, Bustamante and Norman Manley was a product of those said systems, my people. See? However, like I said, Andrew Holness have apologized. He paid some money and he's making amends with these people, you know, and it is for Rasta now to move themselves into the future. See? Rasta continue to ask for reparation, continue to live a normal life, and, you know, credit to them, that is noble, that is, you know, what they want to do. However, what we should is to rapidly advance ourselves, and if reparation comes later on in life, then we take it and we continue for, you know, if them fight in the system, what them expect. Yeah, they were fighting the system, but it is like us as slaves. We were fighting the systems as well. The systems were there. Remember, slavery was legal, you know. It is not like slavery was illegal. It was a legal act back in that time. See? So much so where even the Church of England, the richest church on planet Earth, billions and billions of pounds they made off slavery. The Catholic Church, not the what you call it? It is not the Catholic Church. They have another name, the Anglican Church. See? The Anglican Church. Billionaire church. Enough money they make from sugar, all kind of plantation all over the world. Them capture people gold, them take with people jewelry, they do all of them things there. Them pillage throughout the years, and now the Church of England is one of the richest entity on planet Earth. But they got most of that wealth from slavery. See? So it is important that we teach our past. I didn't learn these things in a school when I go to school, and me a recent person, about 1990. So I believe that these things should be taught. Probably they don't want people to demonize Bustamante, but it wasn't really Bustamante's fault. It was a systematic thing that was happening. See? And it wasn't Norman Manley's fault either. It was a systematic thing that was happening. The oppression of Rasta have been happening before they were ever a PNP and before they were ever a JLP. And even when the PNP, Rasta was still being oppressed. When JLP formed after, then turn up the anti-pan Rasta because of their belief. Now, as labor rights, we don't believe in a squatting, really. We don't believe in a lawlessness, really. We are more conservative of the two parties, so we believe in law and order. We don't believe in a criminality. We believe in a hard work. You see what I say? So, technically, it was the British system that was oppressing Rasta. However, it carried on into many years. Rasta was being oppressed under Siaga. Rasta was being oppressed under Manley. Rasta was being oppressed under Pattison. I am sure Rasta will say they are being oppressed under Portia. And I am sure Rasta will say today that they are being oppressed under Andrew Holness. See? So, I don't believe that Rasta is being oppressed today. But Rasta want to live free. They want if you left them with them weed. They want if you left them, they just live how they want to live. And I believe you should allow them to live how they want to live. Left them with them weed if they not sell it. Make them smoke them weed. Left them with them weed. And them holy sacrament. So left them with it. See? However, there are problems that weed smoking cause, like anger problems. I am sure it is a medicine as well, but I am also sure if you take too much medicine, it will sick you. I know of a brethren that smoke weed, and when you smoke weed, it make him paranoid. So, weed have great effects and it have negative effects as well. Saying so, I believe that left them and live how they want to live, and Rasta is still subject to the laws of the land. So if you burn weed and get paranoid and go broke the law, then the law will deal with you. You see me I say? Rasta have a lot of opportunities now than ever. Yeah, man, Rasta can do what they're supposed to do now, I believe. And, just do the right thing, Rastafari. And not bother the foolish. However, before we go any further, I want to play a clip of the luminaries from the Prime Minister inauguration. People like Lee Chin and others who had something to say about the Prime Minister swearing in. So we just going to segue a little bit from the whole Rasta thing. But smoking, yes, deal. Smoking overall is bad. Me, I don't really smoke more than so. Like when I go to Jamaica, I'm on the beach, I like if you have a fat Cuban cigar. Or if I there on party, I light up a Cuban cigar. But that's just one for that day. But I am not a smoker of weed or smoker of cigarette. But when I enjoy myself, I like if you have a fat Cuban cigar and, feel like the boss. Oh, anyway, we listen to the luminaries right now.
What is the words of inspiration, words of vision? Now it's time to work. In other words, it's time to execute. But you know what? The country is with him. So I am very excited today because of what's ahead.
Very nice. Quite nice. Thank you.
It was a great ceremony, a lot of powerful words spoken. Jamaica is indeed a great country and we can be great. I congratulate the Prime Minister and all the MPs for coming into the House of Parliament and wish the best for all of them.
And just laying the foundation of things that have been achieved and saying there's so.
You know, you and me say yes, me say them want to live free. That I know. Well, in my humblest opinion, if you do not want to participate in the workforce and you want to live free, I believe you should be allowed, but you cannot complain that you don't have the amenity. And you can't complain, say, you're hungry and state not help you. Because state help everybody by you paying taxes and by state collecting taxes. They are dependent upon you earning. And if you're not earning to pay taxes, you should not complain that there's no road. You should not complain that you don't have water. Feel free if you go to the river, go collect your water. You know, feel free if you walk by your donkey truck or drive bunny. But you can't then say you're born Babylon and you're not in a Babylon system, but then complain say you're not in a hospital, you're not on a road, and you don't have no school, and you don't have nothing. You have to contribute to society. We continue to listen to the luminaries.
Have been achieved and saying there's so much more for us as a country and underscoring that Jamaica punches way above its weight in terms of not limited by our small size. We have global influence, and then went through a systematic outline of the areas that we've made accomplishments, and then outlining the vision to go forward, speaking to things like education and training, what we call human capital development, speaking to Jamaica's benefit as the geographic location between North and South America and establishing us as a hub and building that out, speaking about continuing to reduce violence in the society and human, what we call citizen security. So quite a lot, gave us quite a lot, and just speaking to vision and how we're going forward, and that it will take all of us united as Jamaica. So we thought, excellent.
The Prime Minister. You heard the Prime Minister, what's your comment?
One Jamaica, one Jamaica, one Jamaica. Yeah, man, one Jamaica, man. Congratulations.
It touches everything that is needed to touch. There are some things that he said that is going to need a little bit of shelving out. I like the fact that he reached out to Mark Golding and extend a hand of friendship to work together on some certain crucial things for the Jamaican public. So I like that. But it was a quintessential Andrew Owen speech, and I truly enjoyed it.
When he finished, everybody stand. Mark Golding still sitting this year. Did you observe that?
Yeah, well, we expect him to do that.
Why?
We have come to have very low expectations of Mark Golding. So we'd never expect him to stand up. But in fact, we have very little expectation that he would actually show up. And he did, and he exercised all of his nastiness that he normally do. There's nothing new there.
I chose Jamaica because I am a Jamaican, a patriotic Jamaican. And I believe Jamaica is poised for greatness if we all participate and allow it to. Tearing down Jamaica is not bringing the country forward.
What I find with this speech is that it's very hopeful, positive, and uplifting. And it's a speech that requires unity, and well, he asked for unity because, one hand can't clap. And I think it's one of the best speeches I've heard given.
Politics was sending me this clip, so big up yourself. Lifestyle politics.
With a man like Mark Golding and the opposition, do you have any hopes for that unity will come?
No, of course not. He and Bunting and the rest of them are going to try and be as difficult as possible, but they still have no power.
You heard the Prime Minister?
Yes, I did.
What's your comment now on this plan?
A pacifist statement, a statement of positivity, and a statement that suggests that he is serious about achieving things left on the cutting table from the last administration. So it was a strong vision, and he kept in a good time.
Are you in agreement what they say he has completed the stars now for him to go?
Absolutely not. That's bottom.
Yeah, so all in all, most people are feeling positive about Jamaica. I can tell you now, living outside, looking in, I am very proud of what she's achieving. I feel sometimes that I am missing out on things in my homeland. You know, I want to desperately return home, but I am not financially ready yet. You know, hopefully I can build on this medium, you know, and that will rapidly advance the chance of going home. But financially, I'm not ready. But oftentimes I lie in bed and I feel like, you know, I have something to offer back home and, you know, not ready yet financially. But I am working my way to there. But I know other Jamaicans feel just like me. But all in all, I am proud of my nation and where it is today. When we look back at where it is coming from, I big up in the Colonel. I am very proud of what Andrew Holness and the Labour Party have achieved. Notwithstanding, I am sure there are persons who had made some tiny steps before. No, you know, there are things that, not many things, but there are some things that the PNP did that, you know, helped on the way coming down to here. But we are here now and we have good people that is looking after the nation, and we must continue to you know, support them. I believe that Jamaica today, should the PNP return to power during Portia's time, we would not have this Jamaica. I believe so wholeheartedly. I don't believe we would have had this Jamaica today. You know, it is right that we had Andrew Holness, we voted for him. It is right that we kept him there for a third term, and it is right that he built on what he and his team have worked so hard. And, you know, so big up with minister them that got sworn in yesterday. With a big ugly man there when him sitting on the Burke, Paul Burke. Then put Paul Burke in the Senate. Why? But they don't wag up in Jamaica, you know, because the PNP just not renew itself, my people. And they're putting people there that they know that is going to cause a hard time for the government. See? Me not understand it. So the PNP is not renewing, and because they are not renewing, that is a good thing for the Labour Party. We'll be able to keep them down and hold them down where they are, and we'll continue into a fourth term. I guarantee it. Oh. Who make you can be on YouTube chatting this field right now? I make myself, you know, I build my channel myself. You know, it start to reap fruit, you know, young star. It build up, you know, but I've been at it for quite a while now, so, you know, and I am sure others have helped me on the way. You guys who are viewing and watching and sharing have helped me along the way, you know, so big up to all of you. You see me, I say, and Young Star TV, don't be an imbecile, don't be a Neanderthal, have some decorum, see, and be a statesman as well. I want to see, if you're a man or woman, I want to see something good for the country. Who bring internet and phone to Jamaica? Edward Siaga brought telecommunications to Jamaica. So if you're crediting PJ Patterson for that, PJ Patterson did not do that. PJ Patterson built on something that Edward Siaga started. And I can see that you're new here. If you weren't new here, you'd have already learned that from this medium, that it is Edward Siaga who brought telecommunications to Jamaica. See? So, name something Andrew Holness achieved from 100-day pledge. It don't really matter when you achieve from the 100-day pledge. You have achieved a lot. Many things you have achieved. I know that the PNP want to pick negatives out of everything that they can find to justify the defeat, the 5 more years under them bumbo where them are going to get now. I know it burn, no. See? So I would try to pick out all kind of sense out of nonsense and nonsense out of sense. See? But Andrew Holness have achieved more in 8 years than the PNP did in 19. See? So all of who are crying about when too bad, and Uno will lose again at the end of this 5 years. I promise it. See? Because Uno not renew yourself. See? Uno see? And Jones renew the government at all times. That means they will stay relevant and they will continue to blossom into the future. The PNP is still stuck in the 1980s and 1990s. See? So, all of us crying when like a one big dirty baby. We're sorry for you. See? So, these people think phone and internet started with telephone. Exactly. PNP is so stupid. Some of them. Not all of them, but a majority of them, I would say, that follows, especially the one them where say Bucky Massa. They are very silly. See? But it was Edward Siaga who brought telecommunications to Jamaica. See? And PJ built on it. But here what happened? We never had internet like now, so they couldn't tell people any and anything. Right? They can't tell we any and anything now because everything is on the internet and we can go and find it. And if you do Youngstar TV, if you do a quick internet search, you would not come on this medium this morning and behaving like a complete invertebrate. See? You would not be behaving as a numbskull this morning with a simple Google search. See? So I tell you, communication was brought to Montego Bay by Edward Siaga after he won in 1980 and he went to America. You know, he brought where did call again, my people? I forgot what I tell you to say call one night when we go through it. I think me have it on the phone. I don't know where he call. I don't know what I do with it. But Digiport, yes. Digiport. Edward Siaga brought Digiport to Jamaica. And that was the foundation for, you know, all of the communications that you're seeing now in Jamaica. See? So, PNP is not persons that read. Them not like to read. Them not like to listen either. They not like truth. Only thing PNP want to do is live free and do what them want to do. But and also real life work. So no need to grow up a young sitting under that TV, whatever your name. See? Big up yourself, Rai Badu. See? I'm a proud Jamaican, proud Labour Right Shower. DUJON, who you said in Senate for PNP. Hold on, I listen. Oh, you know the on the phone. But I was sent a list last night with 8 so far. Even a person I saw Mark Golden put on the Senate that work for a company that is affiliated to Proven. So that alone is cronyism and nepotism so far. See? And what we did not see, Mark Golden had promised the Maroons, and Mark Golden also promised the diaspora, and Mark Golden also promised the Rastafarian community that he would be putting one of each in the Senate. So what Mark Golden? Eh? How what happened? What happened to the people them we promise I put them in the Senate? Which Rastafarian will be? That them and they are not real Rasta. We talk about one real indigenous Rasta man like Muta Baruka. That we talk about. We definitely dodge a bullet lifestyle politics, because the PNP is the PNP is tell you no say Bucky Massa a liar. One thing what we can certain about him say him is a liar. So Richard Curry-Good, who I follow behind Mark Golden for Senate seat, them not get none down there. all I foreigner them will come down come vote for PNP because they want to go in a diaspora. Them not get sense. Like and he promised them say if he would win and then give me support. But he still put them there. I mean, we'll see what difference they can make. So Mark Golding has no ambition. Mark Golding don't love the people, them people. I tell you all the while, so Mark Golding is a big sour liar. And he come to tell a lie. That even give a step of the way, he's here to tell lies and the people and to gain power from the people. See? Now, I do almost an hour and a half with my people. I bathe and cook and clean up my place. See? So, I will soon this evening. We might go through another massacre. We don't know, probably one of the PNP massacre. Them want to tell me fast before me going. See? We might go through one of the PNP massacre them later on. Right? And big up all 226 I know that is here. Big up all 129 persons that gave me a thumbs up thus far. Saying please subscribe if you are here for the first time. Big up yourself, Marie. We'll close out the live and also. Alright, lifestyle politics and Caroline say yeah. Very yes. So we might go through one of the PNP massacre them later on. And you know, I am going to have to read up about them in idea and things. So I'm in a book shuffle and read later on. So people then can accuse me. So I can't read. See? So first Rasta who went to prison was Leonard Hoyle under the English regime. Yes, so I tell you, say it wasn't really any of the governments per se, Labour Right or PNP. It was the colonial masters that was fighting against Rasta, and the system was just there. You know? So big up on yourself. Me soon look more. Show Labour Rights.